Hello and welcome to episode 15 of the ULTRASCAPE podcast. This is the last episode of 2025. I'm Becky Waters and I'm joined by Josh Ibbett. How are you doing, Josh?
Hi, Becky. I'm good, thanks. How are you today?
Ready for the last episode of the podcast and some wine and cheese for the next week, I think.
Well, we made it. I didn't think we'd get here when we started this at the start of this year, so it's a bit of a milestone. 15 episodes and the last one of the year.
There's even promise of more next year.
There is, but let's not ruin the surprise too quickly.
In this episode, we'll talk a little bit about the races that have happened since last episode. That's across Andes, Further Elements, Grand Guanche, and we'll cover a few upcoming events, including Adrian Likety's solo ride down Africa and the route launches for the Transcontinental and the mountain races, as well as an interview with Marei Moldenhauer. We'll talk about the year that she's had on and off the bike, which is excellent, and she is brilliantly open and articulate about the many things she's done this year. So it's a great episode to end the year on.
But before we get into all of that, we need to thank our sponsors. So Redshift, as always, they believed in us before we even did episode 1. So they made this happen. So a big thank you to Redshift. As always, check out their website. I'll put the link on the screen and in the description and everything like that. And there's a little discount code as well in case you need some last minute Christmas presents. So yeah, a big thank you to Redshift, and we'll be seeing those guys again next year. And also Albion, again, they've supported many episodes this year. Big thank you to Albion. Still not got our ULTRASCAPE t-shirts yet, but we can hope for next year. But in the meantime, we've got a 15% discount code for Albion as well. So again, I'll put the link on the screen and in the notes for that. And also thank you for everyone that brought one of the little ULTRASCAPE zines that I put together. They've almost sold out actually, which is quite nice. So there's a few left. So if you want one, be quick, because I think they'll probably sell out in the next couple of days. Yeah, thank you everyone for buying my silly little magazine with all my photos. It's quite flat that everyone actually decided to buy it.
I take it mine's held up in the Christmas post delays.
It must be. The delays are terrible at the moment.
Right, because I'm not ordering one, Josh.
Maybe I'll come deliver it to you at some point. I'm saving one for you, unless we sell out, of course.
We'll move on to the roundup and the news part of the podcast. The first roundup is across Andes, down in the south of Chile. It's in the Araucanía region, which the race has happened in I think it's second and third editions a couple of years ago, but it's much more in the kind of mid-south of Chile. So it's a lot drier and hotter than the previous editions, previous two, which were down in Green Patagonia, as the race called it. So it was a very hot, very dry edition, and a lot of riders took to riding late at nights. The fastest overall was Andres Tagle. He is the king of Across Andes. He's now won 5 times between the solo and the pairs category, and he betted Seb Brewer. Andres finished in 36 hours and 48 minutes. Seb was only 3 hours behind him. In third position overall, and also first pair, was Alex McCormack and Jesse Yates in 42 hours and 38 minutes. And Across Andes has often had pairs go quite well. It's one of the few races that a pair has won the overall. That was Andres Tagle in its first edition in 2019. So it's good to see Alex McCormack and Jesse Yates on their first pairs race together doing so well, especially in a climate that they were not acclimatized for at all. They both had just left the UK, which is quite a long way from.
Yeah, it's a long way to go for that race. It's one of those ones that I always would love to do, but it's relatively short for the distance you have to get there. So I think you need to make a bit of a trip for it, which I think many of the riders did. Head out for a couple of weeks and do some exploring as well.
Well, another rider who did travel out from Europe was Sami Sauri. She finished first woman and 7th overall. She took the lead halfway through the race. Natalie Bayon, who eventually finished third woman, led from the beginning, but Sami overtook her. In second place was Ivy Peterson. I hope we're saying that right. And all 3 of them actually finished in top 10 overall, which was it was a brilliant result given it is a relatively short race and it's a fast race as well. It's gravel. It can be quite rough gravel, but it's all rideable.
It was quite a small gap as well. I think Sami won by about 2 hours as well. And I think Ivy and Natalie were, less than an hour or so apart. So that's pretty close racing over that distance. So it's always good. I think with the women's races are normally better to watch on the dots than the men. There's always close riding and lots of changes. It's exciting to see.
Yeah, definitely. So if you enjoyed watching that or are at all tempted across Andes, it'll happen there again next year. It's another volcano edition. Some of the photos are just the best racing photos. You get a rider on a gravel bike on a nice gravel road. Like, you get a lot of shots from Europe, but in the background there's just a volcano.
It's almost like they're superimposed in the background, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, talking about close finishes, the further elements, which is the Scottish leg of the further series of races that's run by Camille McMillan. Again, we had a very close race in the women's. So Eva Grange was the first woman. She was in 5th place overall, but she was only 25 minutes ahead of Kerry McPhee. So that was pretty exciting to watch again. The overall was won by Max Racer. I think that's how you say it. Sorry, Max, I always mess up your surname. Pronunciations aren't necessarily my strong point. He won in 24 hours, 20 minutes ahead of Oliver Glenn in 2nd, and Rich Rothwell was in 3rd. Elsewhere, a bit further south in the Canary Islands, it was a Grand Guanche trail. Now, you may know the Grand Guanche series. They have the road Audax, the gravel Audax, and the trail Audax, crossing all of the Canary Islands. The trail is more of, I'd say, a mountain bike Audax. I mean, it's fairly similar to the gravel route, but there's a few different elements that make a mountain bike probably the best bet, and it finishes on La Palma, which is a fantastic island to ride around. 6 riders made the Audax pace, so this is always a bit of a race against a ferry, and 6 riders made the pace set to get onto the island at the quickest possible time. Actually, for the first time ever, there was a woman that made the Audax pace. So that's Amity Rockwell from the USA. So after 5 years and 13 events, that's the first time that's happened. And I know Amity's a really, really strong rider as well. So it's great to see him mix it up and pushing the guys and making that ferry. Fastest overall was Justinas Levejka. So he's now finished all 3 of the Grand Guanche events. And there was 6 riders that made that Audax pace as well. So yeah, always good to follow that and dream of some sunshine as the weather's closing in here in the UK.
I was having a look at the Grand Guanche website just before the call, actually, another website with beautiful race photography.
And Matteo, who runs it, is an excellent photographer, and he always makes it look spectacular.
In some of their posts, they were talking about how Amity's retired from professional gravel racing, which I didn't know. So if that's true,
I realise that.
I wonder if we'll see her do more bikepacking races.
Yeah, that would be great. I raced in the tracker with her a couple of years back, and she just came flying by at the end. I think I definitely cracked, and then she just came by. The lead women came by. I can't remember if she won it, or maybe it was Sarah Stern, but the 2 of them flew by and just left me for dead. And yeah, she's legit real fast. So yeah, great to see her taking on some of these races. And as you say, maybe she'll be doing more of it. We'll see.
Well, back on home turf for us in the UK, the newly coined UK Triple Crown, which is the Highland Trail, the North Wales 400 and the Dales Divide in the Yorkshire Dales, it had the FKT across all 3 has been set by Dickie Hibbett in 6 days, 9 hours and 52 minutes. And a lot of people know his name from winning the Highland Trail this year. He was also 2nd at Dales Divide. Both of those were on the Grand Departs, whereas the North Wales 400 was an ITT, and he actually did that in winter. So well done to Dickie Hibbett for excellent results in what looked to be quite miserable weather as well.
Yeah, early December's not a good time to be doing a 400-mile ride in North Wales.
No.
Especially that particular part where it goes. So yeah, that was a great ride. Elsewhere, a bit of news looking ahead into next year. So Adrian Leachty, some of you may know, he's one of the familiar faces on the ultra scene. He's done pretty much all of the biggest events out there. Next year, he's going for a record attempt. So he's going for the Africa end-to-end record. So he's going to start on the first weekend of January. So it's going to be roughly, just under 17,000k, 16,800k-ish. I think with these kind of attempts, and especially, somewhere like Africa, you do have to be flexible with your plans. He reckons it'd be 90,000 meters or so of climbing across 17 countries, and it's heading down the sort of the more western side of the continent. So it'll be starting in Tunisia and Algeria, crossing the Atlas and Sahara. Then there's the more kind of central belt, so it'll be crossing countries such as Nigeria, before heading down Namibia and South Africa. He's got a couple of deserts to cross along the way as well. And if anyone followed Russ Cook otherwise known as Hardest Geezer, he ran a very similar route last year. There's a really good video series on YouTube. He actually went from south to north, but it's if you're familiar with that, it's a very similar route to that. So definitely looking forward to following Adrian next year. And it's a record that is recognised by the World Ultracycling Association as well. And I think Adrian said to me that no one's actually completed that yet under the record kind of conditions. So yeah, Adrian's looking to set that record. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that on the podcast over the first part of next year. And then just a little bit of news, more of an observation that quite a few of the bigger gravel events now are adding ultras, or say ultras, short ultras. We always have this debate, is it a long gravel race or a short ultra?
Mm-hmm.
But the trend seems to be setting, like races like Unbound over in the US have had the Unbound XL for a number of years, and most of the bigger events seem to be following suit. So the Rift over in Iceland has added the Rift 300, which actually looks like a pretty spectacular ride. I think it starts at midnight. Again, you're going to be very far north, so not much in the way of darkness at that time of year, I'd imagine. And then the Gralloch 300. So the Gralloch is a big gravel race in the borders of Scotland, actually, which I hear pretty good things about. And they've added a 300-mile event, or was it 300k? I'm not sure if that's 300 miles or K. But again, a long gravel race, short ultra. So yeah, those should be good to look forward to. I might try and do one of those, I think, next year. So yeah. Elsewhere, we've had a load of route launches. So
we
Beccy.
have, yeah. One of the most hotly anticipated route launches of the year is typically the Transcontinental, given it changes every year. And over the past few years, they've really started to move it around, and that's never more true than next year. Really, it's quite a big shift.
This took me by surprise. I really wasn't expecting this.
Yeah, I didn't think they'd ever do it. Really, I thought TCR would always be an west to east, or on occasion east to west kind of route, but this is very much a north to south. So where there are little changes in longitude, there's a lot in latitude. Riders start in Trondheim in Norway on the longest day of the year, so there's no sunset, which will help a few with lighting conundrums, and it finishes in Kalamata in Greece. So the control points first is in Flåm in Norway, and then riders make their way to the Tatras Mountains I believe in Poland, or Slovakia.
It's like a split parkour. I think one's in Slovakia.
Yeah.
There's quite a gap between the two sections of the parkour.
Sure.
So there's some route planning conundrums in between.
It definitely does involve Poland, because the route's been, they've had a lot of advice from Pico Pawlowski, who's a finisher of TCR and the organizer of Race Through Poland. So he knows his homeland better than anyone.
Yeah.
And then the third control point is in Sarajevo in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and the final control points in Leskovic, Albania, before the finish in Kalamata. So while the start may be very new, the race very much goes through the Balkans.
I think that's the pattern for TCR now. Like for me, the TCR has to have a good, like the decisive part has to be in the Balkans, or I would say decisive because last year it was the ferry in Italy, but it was the ferry to the Balkans, and it's always, I think the TCR just needs to ramp up in wildness and difficulty. So I think it's a good route, and there's some fairly hefty gravel sections in Norway as well.
Okay.
So yeah, it looks like there's quite a high section. The first parkour is like on a gravel road that's quite high, and various comments I've seen around it is that that it is feasible there could be snow if the weather's particularly bad at that time of year. But equally, when I've been in Norway in that time of year, it's 30 degrees. So who knows nowadays?
Yeah. The approximate total for the race is about 4,900 kilometers. So it could be one of the longest TCRs. I thought this year's TCR was a one-off, given that it was so long, but it might be the new normal.
It seems to be a theme, which we'll come on to in a second. But also there is some ferry games as well.
Naturally.
We do like some TCR ferry games. It does wind some people up, but actually, as a dot watcher, it's pretty bad when you're kind of trying to do it and deal with it. But dot watching, as we saw this year, is excellent. And so there'll be some ferries from the south of Sweden to northern Germany, northern Poland, that kind of area, depending on which ones are allowed. So yeah, that'd be good to watch.
If that's tempting to anyone, applications close on the 31st of December. And following on from this year's success of the 100 Women campaign, they are again pushing for 100 women on the start line. So while they had more than 100 women signed up, only 79 turned up or 79 women and non-binary riders were on the start line. And they're still pushing to make that number 100.
Yeah, and I think it's possible as well. I think it just sort of grows momentum, doesn't it? So yeah, that'd be good to basically, hopefully they'll meet the target and get 100 starters. And again, as we said earlier about the women's races, that was probably one of the more entertaining elements of the race last year. The men's, or Victor and Martin got the ferry, and then it was just a two-person race, whereas the women's race changed with Cynthia and Jana a couple of times actually through the Balkans, didn't it? So that's very exciting to watch. So yeah, more of the same, please. Elsewhere, and now I guess we're going to talk a bit about the mountain races run by Nelson Trees, of course. So the Hellenic Mountain Race in Greece has had a slight route change. It's been the same since it started up until now. But there's now a new northern section, so typically there's a big loop in the north. But now the start has moved to the town of Agios Athanasios. I think that's how you say it correctly. Again, Greek is, well, most languages are not my forte when it comes to pronunciations. So rather than a loop, it's going to be a straight line. And I just had a quick look at the profile, and basically the highest point of the race is going to be like the first pass, 2,400 meters. So that's going to spread the field out quite quickly. And those, I did the event earlier in the year, and it was one of the best races I've done. I really love that route, and you hear very good things about it. Take a mountain bike if you're thinking of doing it, just in case. It won't reward you on a gravel bike for sure. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be a good addition and change to that route. So yeah, looking forward to seeing that in May, at the end of May. We've also had the route launch for the Silk Road Mountain Race. So that changes every year. I think most of Kyrgyzstan has been covered now over the years. So normally it's sections which are kind of rearranged and added or subtracted. Sometimes you go over one pass and the next year you'll go over a parallel pass. So the route is going to start in Talas, which is in the northwest of the country. So it started there. One of the early editions started there. There's not much in the town. So if you've got an entry, I'd look at trying to book somewhere to stay, or make a plan at least. And finishes in the classic finish of Chopon Alta, which is great because that means that the finish is over Kokarek Pass, which is the classic 4-hour hiker bike, and then 4,000 meters down to 1,000 meters descent to the finish, which is really great. It's also going to have some classic checkpoints. So CP1 at Songkhol Lake, CP2 at Khelsu, which is the classic Chinese border section you might have seen in various videos and things. CP3, similar or the same as this year at Tamga, which is back down kind of at, let's call it low altitude, about 1,400 meters. And then big sections include the Karakol Valley, the Chinese border road, as I said, the Arabelle Valley, which you go up and down twice. It's basically a loop down to CP3, then up Tosor Pass, which I've not managed to ride yet, so that'd be good. Hopefully I can get an entry there. And then Kyrgyzstan Pass, the classic, and a couple of new ones. And there's some, I read the manual, some of them are the classic Nelson, a bit of hiker bike, so that could mean anything. So it could mean a day walking, might be easy, might be hard, but it's a Silk Road, so there's going to be some little traps somewhere, I'm sure. And again, it's around 1,275 miles. I've not figured that out in kilometers, but it's there was talk of it being one of the longer ones, if not the longest. So yeah, are we seeing a trend of these big races getting longer and longer? Who knows?
Definitely. Yeah, longer, harder, more hiker bike, rougher, all of it.
Yeah, it's getting too easy now, isn't it?
Nelson has a new race next year, and I don't think we've managed to have an episode where we haven't talked about this. It's the Taurus mountain race in Turkey. That will be on the 14th of October, but entries open on the 2nd of January. So if you're at all tempted, there's plenty of time to have a look, see what you think. There's not a lot of information out there. There's a lot of beautiful shots on the Instagram, and Josh and I were just having a look at how beautiful all of them is, and it just looks so wild.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like it could be Kyrgyzstan, doesn't it? At times, those big high passes, and almost as high. Like, I think there's a couple of passes over 3,000 meters, which, when you consider it starts at sea level, and near, well, I don't know the exact town, but somewhere near Antalya on the coast, starts and finishes on the coast. Considering Silk Road goes up to 4,000 meters, but generally starts around 1,000. That's a similar kind of elevation gain you've got to match. But they do better tea, I think, in Turkey than Kyrgyzstan. I was there travelling, this time last year, actually, with Alex Kopp, and we drank a hell of a lot of tea. That's
another note about the tea. Nelson mentioned that the resupply could be similar to Atlas, so it's again, it will be wild and remote. It is one of Nelson's races. And he even claims it's one of the most beautiful races, one of his most beautiful routes. So, and that's quite a claim from the organizer of races in Kyrgyzstan, Morocco,
Definitely.
and
He knows
Greece.
how to sell tickets, doesn't he?
Yeah. There's been quite an appetite for Nelson's inaugural races, I find. I was at the first Atlas Mountain, and it certainly attracts a certain type of person because there is so much unknown, and you just have to put so much trust in Nelson.
Yeah, it's a different style of racing, isn't it? I think races like Atlas, everyone pretty much knows how it goes now, and there's a lot of information out there, but information is sparse. And I read as well on the sort of launch post that the actual route is only going to be released a couple of weeks in advance. So there's going to be no scouting. There's going to be no, going for a tour 2 weeks before like some people like to do. It should be good. And I think everyone is, I think no one wants to miss out on it. Certainly anyone who's kind of done any of the other mountain races is going to want to do it. So I think the field is going to be absolutely stacked. It's also October, so who knows what could happen with weather. I think, the only information I have is what I've seen on the Instagram. And Nelson reckons he's been out there a couple of years at a similar time, and it's going to be below freezing up high, but could be 30 degrees down low. There's actually a desert section there somewhere as well, if you look at the map. So it'd be interesting. I can't wait. Maybe we'll try and get Nelson on the podcast at some point just to see if we can get any more information out of him. So before we speak to Marei, we'll be back in the new year. And so we'll have a bit more of a look at, people who are entering some of these races next year, in our first episode of the new year. And that'll be late January, and we'll just do some previews and see if we can find some rumours about who's doing what. And I think the races, there's so many people doing these races now, and it's getting so competitive that it's going to be good viewing. I think the sport is definitely developing.
Okay, and we move on to the second part of the podcast where we'll be introducing Marei. For transparency, this was recorded separately to the first part of the podcast, so if it feels a bit disjointed, we're sorry for that. Marei Moldenhauer was the first woman and 8th overall at Atlas Mountain earlier this year. She's also finished 4th overall at Bright Midnight in 2024 and second woman and first woman at Transcontinental and the Taunus Bikepacking in 2023, which was only her first year of racing. So welcome, Marei.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Outside of racing, Marei balances her work as a surgeon with all the success that she's had on the bike and the training that she does for that. She'll talk us through her experiences on the bike and the past year she's had as we dig in a bit to the ups and downs that she's been through since she won Atlas Mountain earlier this year. But I believe first, congratulations are in order, Marei, for your first outside bike ride in quite a long time this weekend. So how long has it been since you rode outside?
It's been, I think, exactly 12 weeks now.
Okay.
So, 3 months.
Straight back out just in time for the cold weather then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was okay this weekend, but it's cold outside. That's true.
It's got to be better than inside anyway.
Yeah. Definitely.
So, for a bit of context, Marei's had quite the year. After she won Atlas Mountain earlier this year, she had a skiing accident. Only a week after the race, I believe. She had a knee surgery. There was a glimpse of a comeback, but you chose to go back under the knife for a second surgery. Could you talk us through the injury and the surgeries briefly, and also how you made the decision for that second surgery? Because we all thought you were back, Marei.
Yeah, I thought that too. So I don't really want to be too technical, so I try to make it a bit easier. Basically, I had this injury and my accident, which had to be get surgery quite soon. So it was repaired in the first surgery. So you could see on the pictures, on the scans, that there was a part of the knee that was kind of, you could it could be something, but you are never sure until you see in the surgery. And in the surgery, it apparently didn't really look like it was damaged or there was something wrong. And so the surgery was done. I did all the rehab. I built all the muscle again because I had to be on crutches for 6 weeks. So you lose all the muscles in the leg. It's crazy. And so I rebuilt all the muscles and could ride my bike again. And my was actually really pain-free, so I could ride my bike for hours, but walking and standing was quite painful all the time. And at the beginning I thought this might just be normal, and every rehab is different, every body is different. So for some people it takes some things take longer, some things is faster. So I was quite fast on the muscle rebuilding, but I thought maybe this pain is just, it will go away someday. But then after some month, it became apparent that it will probably not go away. So we did another scan, and this thing we could see on the scan was still there, and it became apparent it could be the root of the pain. So yeah, it was not my decision alone, but like we decided to look back into the knee, to have a second surgery, to probably to look if there's something to repair. So they did that, and it was actually something to repair there. They did it now, and even though I lost all my muscles again, the pain is a lot better. So I think it was a really good decision to do that. Pain while walking and standing is a lot better. It is really normal to have some pain because the knee basically functions only with the muscles around the knee. It's not really working without them, so it's quite normal to have some pain, but it's not that much anymore. That's good.
Great. Well, that's brilliant. Bodes well for next year. At Dot Watcher, we made the most of you having quite a lot of spare time on your hands early this year, and we asked you to write the commentary for the Taunus Bikepacking, which you won a couple of years ago, and I believe that was your first race.
Yeah, it was.
Is it also your local race then? You're in Freiburg in Germany?
I mean, it's in Germany. It's not too far away. I think it's around 300 kilometers away from me, the start. So it's not really local, but I was living in Heidelberg at the time where I raced it, and then it was only like 100 kilometers, so quite local, yeah.
Okay. And in the commentary for that, you wrote a post which I thought was brilliant, and we actually released it as a separate feature, and it was in response to some of the behaviour of some of the riders, and the post was about the rules of self-supported racing, and you put some words to paper about there being freedom within the rules, which allows you to earn your strength and that no one can take that away from you. And I think what you said and how you said it was quite fair and succinct. And I wonder if you could elaborate on what self-supported racing has done for you.
Yeah, sure. So it's maybe a bit a longer thing. I could talk for hours, I think, about this, because I think I thought a lot about these things also during my rehab, like the reason why I do this, and why I keep coming back at this. At first, I think you feel drawn to it and you don't really know why, and then I really wanted to reflect what it did to me and why I love this. So yeah, I feel like these self-supported racing gives me some ownership, because I, like, in my everyday life, I take responsibility a lot for other people, like in my job, but also I think in my private life, I tend to take other people's problems seriously and take them to my heart sometimes. When I do these unsupported races, I feel like there's maybe also something a bit egoistic to say, but I feel like the only person I'm responsible for is literally myself, because it's even said in the rules, and you really can't support the others and can't be supported by others. So I think this is one thing that is really, really freeing, to know that you're only responsible for yourself. And also, I feel like, I mean, there's so many things you can learn from these races. Like, you're with yourself alone for such a long time, and also in intensity that I think you never really experience when you're just in your everyday life. Maybe a little bit in some situation like rehab, because you're really just like, a lot of things are taken away from you during something like that. But ultracycling and unsupported ultracycling, you can do this like in a realm that you can decide for yourself how much you go into it. I don't know if I can describe this well, but at the same time, in the end, when you finish, even if you don't finish, when you accomplish something with these rules and in alignment with the ethos of unsupported ultracycling, you know in the end that you did everything that you did yourself. And you can't really, in the end, you did it all yourself, and you can't really say, I was lucky, or someone helped me, or like it was a team effort. You really did this yourself. So everything that goes right, but everything that goes wrong as well, it's your responsibility mostly, because life is just life. It gets thrown at you, and what you do with it is your choice, basically. So I don't know if that makes sense to you, but I could talk about this for hours. It's maybe too much.
Do you feel that doing these ultras has impacted the way you sort of, your outlook on the rest of life as well? Is it kind of like given more control over that in sort of within yourself?
Yeah, definitely. I think so, yeah. Especially the part where I feel that you experience that you're responsible for your own feelings. And I mean, there's nobody else to blame. And if you're angry, you have to live with your anger. In an ultra, you're angry and there's nobody else. It's just the anger in yourself. And if you're angry for 4 hours, it's really annoying.
Yeah.
And to learn this is really practical in everyday life, because you're angry a lot in everyday life as well, maybe, or not a lot, but maybe it can happen. And if you learn that mostly you can change it yourself, and then your life gets better.
Yeah, have a snack and a little sleep, and normally it's better.
Having a snap is always a good idea.
Yeah.
Nice. Do you think it's helped with your recovery as well? Something that I think I heard Jenny Tuff say was, it was along the lines of, and this is going to be a misquote, so if she is listening, which she's probably not, I'm really sorry, that it's a choice to do the hard things. So when the hard things happen to you, you're a lot more equipped to deal with them. And I wonder if having a couple of years of racing under your belt before the accident just put you in a bit of a better stead.
I believe that that's the case. I mean, I never know how I would have handled rehab without this, but I do believe that these skills you learn during ultracycling, I mean, you could do different challenges as well and learn skills there as well. It's not only ultracycling that can give you these things, but all these skills. I think ultracycling is one way to do it, and I believe that it has helped me a lot with dealing with a lot of problems and things in life. Definitely, yeah. And rehab was a really difficult part of that.
Well, looking ahead, post-recovery, I imagine your 2026 race calendar is coming together. And I'd like to know, how do you design a race season? I believe you're in for the Taurus Mountain race. I had a little dig on Instagram, and I think Nelson gave that away, so we'll blame Nelson for that. What are the considerations when deciding on which races to do with regards to their dates, their distances, terrains, times of year, climate?
Yeah, I mean, for Taurus, the applications didn't really start yet, so we will see. But yeah.
Well, I think you're in, Marei. I don't think you need to fill in much of an application.
I'm really interested in the race, yeah. And I actually already got the vacation, so yeah, I'm probably in.
You better hope so, otherwise you'll have a beach holiday instead.
Yeah. So I have to, when I decide for races, at first I have to look that they are not too close to one another. And then I also like to have a different mix of races. I mean, you could do all the mountain races in 1 year, and I think that's a good thing also. But I believe it's also nice to have a bit of a change, to do like a gravel race that is like not as tough, maybe with the mountain bike, maybe a real gravel ultra. And then I also have to see with my work what's possible. We can't take vacation all at the same time, and I have to see with the others when I can take vacation and when not. And there's a lot of limitations there. And then I just see and have a look which like regions I haven't seen yet where I want to go. And so I have a long list of races in my mind, and then I just see what makes sense. Also, for example, next year I wanted to do some of the a bit shorter gravel ultra races. It wouldn't really make sense to do like a short gravel ultra race and then like 3 weeks later the really long one, I think, because it's like a very different kind of training that goes in there. So I don't really know anything of that, but my coach does, and I think it has to be a little bit of, I mean, you could do that, and I think I will do it a little bit because I want to do the Taurus and I want to do bad ones as well, or different short races. But yeah, there has to be a little bit of space to adapt the body to like the longer racing again as well, I think.
You mentioned then about having to get vacation from work, and you talked about it before we recorded. And it's a reminder that you do have a very real job, which racing has to fit around. And Josh and I don't really have what I will consider real jobs. So I certainly find it miraculous that you're able to do the doctoring or the surgeon and be such a good racer. So how do you balance both of those things?
Yeah, it's actually a question I get quite a lot. I totally get why. At the same time, I feel like without like making this seem easy, it's not only like a balance for me, it's also it complements each other for me, because when I come home from work, it really helps me to go on my bike and to do the training. I really love that, and I really do miss it when I can't do it. So it's not really hard for me to come home and to do my training. At the same time, like things that are like more hard for me or harder for me is everything around it, like the organizational things around races, to have all the equipment ready, to have the bikes like ready, to have everything you need, every clothing thing piece, to know what you take, to look at the route, to know like difficult parts of the route where you have to get resupply. This is like something that sometimes gets like, I don't really have a lot of time for that, and I sometimes don't really like that as well. And the recovery part is also quite difficult. Like when it comes to training, I do love that, but I always have like a limitation of how much I can train. Even though even though I have more hours, I can't train more, because then recovery would be really, really bad. I also, like in my job, I run and stand a lot. Like I walk around a lot. I stand. I'm physically active, and as well, it's stressful. Like this, just yeah. So when I come, I just need to limit the stress to a certain amount, because otherwise the effect of training would be gone.
Do you find though, working as a doctor and like having obviously a good knowledge of the human body and how it works, do you find that complements your training and gives you more awareness of your body and what you need to do and what you don't need to do as well? I think it's probably just as important in training.
Yeah, maybe, but I'm not too sure about that. I actually don't really know a lot about training. I love that I have a coach for that, and I don't really need to look too much in it. But I mean, think that I like a little bit of knowledge does help me. I think it would be wrong to not say that. But yeah, as I'm in my residency for like ENT, it's a totally different field than like sports medicine or like internal medicine. So it doesn't help me too much with that, I would think. But I do have a training as a doctor and my whole studies behind me, so I maybe understand a little bit of it. Yeah.
I guess you know the reasons for doing stuff, but also I suppose when you've been like had your head in medical stuff and like bodies and stuff all day, you probably don't want to then think about training. It's probably nicer just to have it sort of laid out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it helps a lot.
Have you been working with the same coach for quite a while?
I've been working with him now for 1.5 years, I think. So not that long. Before, I haven't had a coach. I didn't really do structured training before. And then when I started working, I wanted to have a coach, to make it easier, because like all the mental capacity that goes into when do I train, where do I go cycling? It's just, I just look at my Training Peaks account or any other account, and I see what I like have to do or what I can do, and it's just makes things so much more easy. And actually, for me, it makes them fun as well. I think I wouldn't push myself so much without the coach, and I really love pushing myself. I figured I really like that. The feeling after hard intervals is it's just really, really nice.
Yeah, chasing endorphins.
Well, Marei, that covers all the questions that I wanted to ask. Josh, did you have anything else?
Well, I'm very much looking forward to seeing what next year brings for you. I know you've got some exciting things coming. But my question, well, one sort of final question is, again, it's work versus cycling. What are your ambitions in the world of cycling? Is it just a hobby? Or is it something you want to sort of pursue slightly more, as in like full time almost? Given that kind of like there are more and more people now in the world of this, ultra cycling doing that. Is that something you want to do, or is it too much of a good thing? Would you prefer the balance?
That's a really difficult question for me. I wouldn't say it's just a hobby for me. I mean, then for that, I think it has taken up too much space in my life, and I take it quite seriously. Also, it's fun, but I take it seriously. But yeah, I don't really know for full time. At the moment, I do really love my job as a doctor as well. And I don't know, maybe someday for some time, I think it would be really, really interesting to know how much I could like train if I had more time and more ability to like recover, and not this like full-time job where I really like, have the 42 hours that I work. So yeah, it would be really interesting to know what I could do if I didn't have
Scary
that.
prospect for everyone else.
Yeah.
We will see. Now I need to get back on my bike now, but
Yeah, but I guess you've done it once. I mean, you've already had. Well, is it? I think the score for this year is what, 2 wins and 2 knee surgeries. So
yeah,
that's still pretty good. And you know, we've talked a bit over the year, and like you've done it once, so there's no reason you can't kind of do it again. So yeah, I've no doubt you'll come back stronger. And quite often you see people who've had like pretty big surgeries and injuries in sports, because they do have to really focus on the training and take away the distractions, they come back stronger. So I've got no doubts that that'll probably be the case. So looking forward to seeing you racing, and hopefully you don't have to line up in a hilly race against you.
I was going to say, I look forward to watching you beat Josh again.
Yeah, that was quite funny actually, because on the Atlas, like it went out crazy fast, as it always does, and I kind of backed off, and loads of people were passing me, and I caught Marei at the first checkpoint, and I was a bit quicker through, and I thought, I reckon everyone's gone too hard. I think we're going to settle now. Marie came to me, chatted for about a minute, she said, I need to ride my pace now. I was like, okay. I never saw her again, just disappeared up the mountain. I was like, oh wow, yeah, you're pretty serious now. It was quite impressive to watch, I must say. Not so impressive to be on the the other end of it though.
it would be nice to see you again. Are you in Taurus actually?
Well, like you, I've not entered yet, so maybe.
Okay.
But
Nice.
yeah, I imagine there's going to be a massive climb at the start of that, so I need to get training, I think.
Yeah. Well, say hello at the start, Josh, because Marei will wait for you at the finish.
I'm sure she will. Yeah, exactly.
We will see.
Thank you so much, Marei, and thank you so much for being very open as well. It's been an interesting year, and hopefully the last of it. And we'll see you with many successes on the bike in the next year and the years to come. So.
I hope so too. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. And that pretty much rounds up the podcast for the whole year. We've managed 15 episodes now. Well, hopefully by the time we finish recording the first half tomorrow.
Yeah.
So yeah, just need to say thanks everyone for listening over the year. I think we're going to be back next year, probably later in January. So Marei, thanks for joining us. Beccy, thanks for everything this year.
Always, Josh. I'll see you in the new year for the same again.
Hopefully so, yeah. And thanks to everyone for listening. So see you all in January.